Third scandal, and this is another one of the negative things in American history, is how we treat the Indians. We have a replay of what happened over here is going to happen over here. Conflict with Indians. By the end of the century, and this is tons of Indians up here. We have the Sioux Indians, you have Comanches down here, you have the what do you call the Apaches, thank you, down in the southwest in Arizona, etc. By 1900, there'll be chronic warfare. By 1900, they'll all be rounded up and put on reservations in their way of life. Now, what's significant about Grant administration, you have the Bureau of Indian Affairs is started here. And they're supposed to be the federal government protecting Indians and kind of negotiating, mediating. And the end result will be these guys, some of this was corrupt. They sold the Indian lands, and they make treaties and break treaties. You're going to see that. If anyone's interested in more of that, this is a great, great book, and it has a chapter on like a theme of, it comes back and forth, what happens with the Indians in specific examples. We have tons of atrocities that we commit against the Indians in this era, post-Civil War. And this is all going on with all these presidents until 1900 is right there. So look for, sometimes you see that. Bureau of Indian Affairs corruption. So it's Credit Mobilier, which is the railroad, and then the gold issue, and then the Indians. All right, let's talk about black codes. We already did. Where are we at? Sorry? Sharecropping. Did we didn't do that yet?
No.
Let's do some sharecropping here. What happens to African Americans after slavery? Well, pretty much some of them moved. Not so many, some. They reunite with family members who were split up. A lot of family members were not split up, but there is some of that going on. Black schools are created, Freedmen's Bureau. You have some black churches, that's really thrives. And then you have this concept of sharecropping. So this doesn't sound so bad, I think. Freedmen plant and work plots of land, exchange for a percentage of the crop. That doesn't sound so bad, does it? Right? It's like, yeah, it's like an investment. Yeah. And it's kind of like a benefit for blacks, right? Well, let's see how it works. Another term for sharecropping is called the crop lien system. A lien is a financial obligation. Here's one example. I'm building my house, right? And I owe my contractor $30,000. So if I don't pay him $30,000, he can put a lien on my house. That means he'll have right to compensation before anything happens to that house, if I sell it or whatever. You get it? A lien. Everyone say lien.
Lien.
Okay.
Lien.
Well, sharecropping. I'm going to draw a picture of it. This is a big plantation house. This is the plantation. Sharecropping typically is, after the war, blacks pretty much stay where they are. There's not massive movement. They're not moving up to the north. They're not moving west, generally. I mean, on a large population, there's no, maybe smaller population, but 95% are living in the south. Most of them living on the same plantation where they were slaves. Okay? And that makes sense. Where are they going to go? They have no money. They have very few possessions. They don't really have any income. Where are they going to go? So they end up staying. The planter is broke. They've usually, it's very common, they invested most of the money in the Confederacy. They lost the war. They're not going to be compensated. They're lucky if they can keep their land. So they say, yeah, they need workers, but they have no cash. Cash is very limited for them. They really can't pay them. okay? So it's a kind of a win-win situation. They decide, they say, well, let's divide up the whole plantation, and you are a former slave, and now you're freed. You have very few resources. You want to stay there, so you get a little house, and then you wouldn't mind doing that sharecropping. You do the work, you pay your rent in cotton or whatever goods you produce, and then you keep the rest, right, for cash. Doesn't that sound good? Would you like to do that?
No.
Why not?
No, I'd love to.
Okay. Just imagine. So here's Bryce is a former slave, and he's like, okay, yeah, and I might have a pig or two over here, but I plant the. So you make the contract with the owner of the plantation. You say, okay, I'll work for you, and you get a percentage of the crop, and I get a percentage of it. And he goes, yeah, that's the way it works. Do you have any, Colton? Do you have any seed for cotton?
No.
Oh, that costs money. How are you going to get it? And you're going to say, oh, can I borrow from you? Can I borrow it? I'll pay it back when we get the crop, right?
Yep.
So you go into debt for the seed. Do you have tools?
No.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't have tools. Oh, what are you going to do about tools?
I'll borrow them.
Can you loan me the money and I'll buy the tools? Yes. I have a little cash. I'll loan you the money. More debt. How about food? When you it takes a year to grow cotton, how are you going to eat in that year? Don't have any food. I need to borrow money for food, or borrow. I'll pay you back after the end of the year. Get it? So they have to go in debt for food and clothing and any necessities or tools and what's that other stuff called? Seeds. So poor Colton is going into debt. Okay, that's cotton. So Colton's in debt. But hey, it comes to the end of the year, and he's got the plantation owner, he's going to get a percentage, and then Colton is going to get a percentage. And what's left over, that's your cash, that's your profit. Well, the problem is there's never any profit. The rent is a big one, and then the debt eats up your percentage. And then so the rent, let's say you make $100 in, that's how much the cotton was worth. You made $100 in your crop. Yeah, that's great. But you owe the plantation $75 for the rent. Well, that's okay. You still got $25. But then you owe the plantation owner $50 for the loan for all this stuff. So you are in the hole for $50. You owe $50 now. Well, let's make it 50. Okay. So what happens now? Can Colton leave until that debt is paid?
No.
And it's inherited by your kin, your kids. So it's called perpetual debt. So does he need seed again? Yeah, I need seed again. More debt. Oh, do you need tools? Yeah, I need another rake. Okay, more debt. Do you need food? Yeah, more debt. Somebody's sick, needs to go to the doctor. More debt. So you get debt passed on generations to generations. And if you run away, let's say you go, no, I'm not paying it, and you go off on the road, what happens? You get arrested and put in a chain gang for vagrancy, remember?
Chain gang?
It's like slavery. You never heard of chain gang?
No.
It's like the guys working in chains. Prisoners forced labor, so they don't run away, they put them in chains. Yeah, well, they could be strung together, but
With like the big ball on the...
well, that's usually in a prison. But in in the farms and stuff. No, these are agriculture workers. So this sharecropping system on the surface doesn't seem so bad, but and some people enjoyed it, and some people liked it stable, their families taken care of, but it's when does that end? In the 60s. So that's one way they keep them in debt. They keep them subservient, and African Americans are not able to exercise rights, etc., until they get protections. Who are the people that protect rights in America? Well, it looks like the federal government in the South. And if the federal government doesn't protect their rights, who's going to protect it?
No
No.
one.
Not much. Not many people. So you're clear on this? Did we do Andersonville?
Yeah, we did.
No.
Last thing on this, you get one of these cracking books and review what's on the test tomorrow. Colonial and Civil War and Reconstruction.
Reconstruction.